Good day, viewers. Welcome to Business Television India. I'm Sriram Iyer, and we are back again to get you ready for GST. And as before, there are no vague conversations. There is no gyan that goes over your head and hits the wall. We talk about issues that affect you directly and try to provide solutions in a way that it's easy to understand. At the end of the day, it's not the broad talk that matters. What matters to you is how easy or difficult your business is going to be after GST. So don't be in the dark. Don't wait for the D-Day. Instead, prepare to enter the new tax regime with the power of information, because information is wealth. You can call us today at 022 4098 7444. I repeat, 022 4098 7444, and get all your queries answered. Joining us on the panel today are MS Mani, Senior Director at Deloitte. We are also being joined by Mahesh Jaising, partner at BMR Advisors, and Amit Sarkar is also with us here on the studio from BDO India. Let me take it to you, to the first caller who's already on the line, Vijay Desai from New Delhi. What is your question, Mr. Desai?
Good afternoon, sir. My question is regarding a land which belongs to a partnership firm in Delhi, the value of which is more than 10 crores.
Okay.
I just wanted to know how does GST affect the buyer and the seller if we sell off this land? How does GST affect us?
So the question is, he has a land worth more than 10 crores, and how does GST affect him or the buyer? Who wants to take the first question? Mr. Mani, do you want to take it?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
See, as far as the land is concerned, there is no GST on land per se. So you must be aware that real estate has been kept outside the purview of GST, and the only area in terms of real estate which is within GST is in respect of construction contracts. So if you're planning to sell land now, you don't need to pay any GST, and possibly the only tax that you will get impacted by would be the stamp duty that you pay on the sale of the land. But therefore, no worries as far as sale of land is concerned.
Okay, does that answer your question, Mr. Desai? Only stamp duty and nothing more?
Absolutely.
Anything else that you would want to ask? Have you tried to enroll for the GST?
No, nothing else. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Desai. That was the first caller even before we could begin the show on BTVi, and that's how important this entire issue is, and that's how many questions that people have. So many people across the board affected by this new tax regime do not know how to sort of transition into it and do not want to lose money in the process. And this show is exactly aimed at those people. We are not going to talk about jargon. We are not going to talk about, give you broader gyan on how GST affects the growth or inflation. Those questions are being answered any which way, but this is the last mile issues. You are not able to get your provisional ID. You don't know what a reverse charge is. You don't know what composite scheme, that do you even fall under the composite scheme? How much tax should you pay? These are questions that we will try to answer today with our panel of experts. We have an email query right now from Dheeraj Kumar of Cochin. Will education cess continue on imports, or has it been merged with the various cess under the GST? Amit, do you want to take this question?
So customs cess will continue.
Okay.
Education cess as a concept has been done away with. So the only cess we actually have on customs is customs cess. And so far, the only other cess that we're talking about is the cess on those identified luxury products which are in the 28% bracket. So outside of these two, there are no other cesses really that are going to continue in GST.
Okay. So I think we have another caller on the line, Ratim from Mumbai. He's a beverage manufacturer. Ratim, what is your question and who is it for?
Hi, this is for me. We are representing Mixed Ale Beverages.
Okay.
We are manufacturers and distributors of beverages, and there's a little bit of confusion with regard to the beverage GST or the GST applicable on beverages. As per the notification, the 28% is what the GST is on aerated sweetened beverages. However, there was a notification on 18th of May 2017 which said that there was a cess of 12% on aerated waters. Just needed some clarification on this. And also, just a second part of the question was with reference to what happens if the source of the beverage is fruit juice, example, Appy Fizz.
Okay. So let's take this to Mahesh Jaising. Sir, do you want to answer this question?
Yeah, sure, thanks. I think the answer is quite simple, that the GST rate is indeed 28, but in addition, you will have a cess of 12% on aerated beverages. So your total tax on the transaction will actually be 40%. Now, in terms of the second part to your question, that if it is based like on a fruit-based fizz product, it still should continue to be a aerated beverage, and the tax treatment may be the same of 28 plus 12 is the answer to your question.
Ratim, does that solve your problem? 28 plus 12?
Yes, there was another section of the HSN codes which goes to 2202, I believe 1090, which comes into the others category, or basically fruit-based carbonated beverages, where the applicable taxes is lower. Now, would the product like Appy Fizz fall into that category and therefore be benefited by not applying the cess?
So, Mr. Jaisingh, I mean, this HSN code is an issue. Do you think he has a way to sort of...
Look at that HSN. Yes.
So complete your point. I think your audio
I think he does. I think it's better for us to look at it offline and come back to him rather than take a final one.
It's a classic.
Yeah. Is that possible? Can you hear me now?
It's okay. Yeah. It's a little bit of a lag from Delhi, so you can take on Amit.
So it's a classic. Intentionally, you have aerated drinks, which are to come under the 28% bracket. But if you look at fruit-based drinks, the classification under excise is different. So technically, you can argue that you should be coming under the lower rate, but functionally, will that actually go through? Possibly some of these nuances would be, countered by the government. They may probably stand up and say, no, this should still go into the 28 plus 12 bracket. So for the caller, if you want to, you can try and see if you can classify yourself into the lower rate, but there will obviously be an attempt to tap that ambiguity.
There is also a sort of tendency. I mean, what the government is trying to say is what is junk food and what is not.
Yes.
That's essentially the classification the government is going to arrive at. And something like an Appy Fizz with the kind of sugar content that it has, I'm guessing it would be in that category.
It's debatable. Now, if you talk about I mean, we're just using Appy Fizz as an example. Okay, it is.
Okay, yeah, of course. Yeah, not to mention any particular product.
Yeah, exactly.
But as a category,
it's a fruit-based concentrate with aerated water pumped in or carbonated water pumped in. Okay, so it's a half and half. If you go by the intention of fat tax, which is what we're talking about, will this really come into that zone? Will it not? As Mahesh was mentioning, it is not something that we can discuss and conclude immediately. But it's a classic. I mean, it's a discussion that we need to have and debate. So my advice to the caller would be, there are equal arguments on both sides.
Yeah.
And sit back and reflect on where directionally the government policy is going.
So Ratim, the question is, will your buyer want to drink it early in the morning with breakfast, or will they want to mix it with their drink in the evening? I guess that's how you classify your product. Does that answer your question?
Hopefully throughout the day, and thank you so much.
Thank you so much for calling us on BTVi. We have another caller waiting on the line. The lines are ringing non-stop, but we are not going to stop anytime soon. Viewers, I request you to continue calling. We have Manish Gupta from Hisar, a sugar dealer, calling us right now. Manish, क्या सवाल है आपका?
मेरा सवाल है कि जो शुगर हमने मिल से लिया है,
फिर से बोलिए.
जो हमने शुगर मिल से परचेज किया है, उस पे जो हम 195 रुपए क्विंटल का एक्साइज ड्यूटी पेड करते हैं, क्या वो हमारे को बैक मिल सकता है, मतलब इनपुट टैक्स?
Of course, I think he should get it, but anyway, Mr. Mani, you take this question, please.
शुगर के ऊपर जो सेस है, आप जो सेस की बात कर रहे हैं, ये शायद यूपी शुगर सेस की बात कर रहे हैं. अभी यूपी शुगर सेस जो है, वो लिस्ट ऑफ टैक्सेस में नहीं है जो जीएसटी के इनपुट टैक्स क्रेडिट के आइटम्स में शामिल हैं. इसलिए मेरे हिसाब से इसके ऊपर आपको क्रेडिट नहीं मिलेगा और ये आपका कॉस्ट बन जाएगा.
सो मनीष गुप्ता, आपको वो आपके सवाल का जवाब मिल गया? कुछ और है जो आप पूछना चाहते हैं?
वो सेस नहीं है, इट्स बेसिक एक्साइज ड्यूटी एंड एडिशनल एक्साइज ड्यूटी.
हाँ, जहाँ तक बेसिक एक्साइज ड्यूटी और एडिशनल एक्साइज ड्यूटी का सवाल है, ये टैक्सेस अगर जीएसटी के दायरे में नोटिफाई हो जाते हैं इनपुट टैक्स क्रेडिट लेने के लिए, उस सिचुएशन में आपको ये मिलेगा. पर अभी तक बेसिक एक्साइज ड्यूटी, एडिशनल एक्साइज ड्यूटी को इनपुट टैक्सेस का दर्जा नहीं दिया गया है जीएसटी के लिए.
यही पूछना था सर।
बस बढ़िया, आपको सवाल का जवाब मिल गया मिस्टर गुप्ता। थैंक यू सो मच फॉर कॉलिंग BTVi। और आगे भी आपको अगर कोई दिक्कतें आएंगी तो जरूर कॉल कीजिएगा, क्योंकि हमारे एक्सपर्ट्स आपका सवाल, आपकी दिक्कतें खत्म करने के लिए ही बैठे हैं यहाँ पे। थैंक यू वेरी मच फॉर कॉलिंग BTVi। वी हैव अनदर कॉलर ऑन द लाइन, Ganesh Muthuraman from Chennai. Ganesh, what is your question and who is it for?
Yeah, I have two questions.
Yeah.
One is, what is the tax rate for commercial rentals?
Commercial rentals, I mean, what is it? What kind of a property do you own?
I hold a property in Chennai where we are getting a rent of about 25 lakhs per annum. I would like to know what is now we are paying service tax 15.5%.
Okay. So, Amit, do you want to take this question?
So the applicable tax is 18% because it is a renting activity, and that is the applicable tax for GST.
So is there any catch that he should be wary of?
Nothing.
Nothing? So that's 18% tax on your rental income, Ganesh. Does that suffice?
But they say that up to 75 lakhs there is some...
That is only on the goods that are being sold. This is not on rental income. This is that's only if you are if you sell any product, and only on that you have a 75 lakh threshold, under which you pay a 1% direct tax without any input credit. That's about it. But on in your case, it's an 18% tax on your income.
Flat 18%.
Flat 18%. Yes.
No cess, nothing.
Is there a cess element?
No. There is no cess, but input tax credit is available.
Input tax credit. And what are his inputs in a rental income?
Okay, he would be having various inputs which he uses. For instance, he would be having a real estate broker who helps him let out the place on rent. And the real estate broker would be charging him a tax, which would be a GST.
Yes.
So that would be an input tax credit for him.
So you got that, Ganesh? If you are using...
No, but we have as tenants, long-term tenants like banks, then Airtel, all multinationals have taken over our place. And they are paying monthly rent along with the service tax.
That's a big guy on the phone right now. He's renting out places. Mr. Jaising, do you want to respond to this?
Yeah, I just wanted to add one thing that, like Mani said, there's one part that the input credit can be claimed to offset against the tax on the rental. But I think what is more important is that some of the customers who are getting commercial rent bills, and this answers not only the question in hand, but for other commercial rental as well. If they're currently into a trading business, they have, say, output VAT liability, they cannot offset the service tax that is charged on the rent that is charged by a landlord. But what GST does, and where it's one of the game changer part, is that the 18% tax for any B2B buyer of the service, when he's getting a rental, he can claim that 18% against the GST on the sale of his goods. So traders, rent in some sense becomes cheaper by the 15%, because earlier the service tax that you paid over and above the rent was not creditable, but tomorrow when you pay the 18%, if you're a trader, you will get a credit. So for the gentleman on the line, if any of his properties that he's let out is actually to a retailer or a distributor, it's important for him to look at it from a customer's perspective as well, that for him the rental is effectively becoming a little cheaper, which is good for the customer.
So that's the rental is going to get cheaper for the customer. Ganesh, does that suffice? Are you satisfied with the answer?
But actually we are not getting any credit at all. Even if we suppose we get only in income tax, we get some benefit, that is 30% you can write off. Then the other 70% is taxable at 33%. Otherwise, we don't get any benefit so far. So this is not going to make any difference. The only thing is going to go up by another 2.5%.
Yeah, Mr. Ganesh, I think what you have to bear in mind over here, and what Mr. Jaising was mentioning, was that look at it from 2 points of view. Look at it from the point of view of what credits you are entitled to. If you are having long-term tenants who have been using that place since a long time, you don't incur any expenditure at all on that property, then obviously there is no question of getting a credit. But if you were to repair that property, for instance, in the past you would not have got a credit of whatever repair expenses you incurred. Now you will be getting that. Other point which Mr. Jaising mentioned, which I believe is very important, is look at what your tenants do. So if your tenant, for instance, is running a trading business in that particular place, in the past, for the tenant, the tax that you were charging, the service tax, would have been a cost. But in GST, for the trading company, they would be able to get a credit. And therefore, the effective cost of the renting for your client would have reduced now. And that might give you an option to increase the rental if you so wish.
Yes. So yeah, whether it's Airtel or banks, whoever you're renting your place out to, their rents are about to increase. Ganesh, good luck with the next one.
Thank you. Anyway,
so
nice to know.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Call BTVi and it's always your wealth will only increase, your earnings will only increase. That's all I can say at the end of this call. We have another caller on the phone line, BS Bhatia. He's calling us from Chandigarh and he runs a toys business. So Mr. Bhatia, what is your question?
Thank you very much, BTVi.
Thank you for calling BTVi, Mr. Bhatia. क्या है आपका सवाल?
My question is, small business and my turnover annual is less than 20 lakhs. I have a small business and my turnover is less than 20 lakhs. Sort of invoices I have to raise.
I think the line is a little unclear, but what I understood, Mr. Bhatia, please answer in yes or no. What is the format of your bill if your revenue is less than 20 lakhs? So you're asking, I mean, he wouldn't have to charge GST, so is he just going to scrape off one piece of paper and give it to his...
Yeah, if you do not intend passing on any tax credits, and if you're not registered because you are below the threshold, there is no format of the bill that you need to issue. You can virtually use any format of the bill that you would wish to use.
So how big is your business, Mr. Bhatia? You said it's less than 20 lakhs, right? So you're a manufacturer?
No, I'm not a manufacturer. I'm a trader.
You're a trader, not a manufacturer.
I said
So my advice would be, if you're a manufacturer, you should still register so that you can get input tax credit wherever it's applicable. And if you're just a trader and your revenue is less than 20 lakhs, then I suppose it doesn't make sense for you to get onto the GST bandwagon. Does that answer your question?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Thank you very much for calling BTVi. So we have a query next on email from Vinita Ranjit from Coimbatore. And she asks, I booked a car today and made the payment, but the delivery is on the 5th of July. Will I be paying GST? That's a very interesting question. Amit, do you want to answer this?
Yeah, sure. So if your car is booked, you've already purchased it, I'm sure that the car dealer would be charging you the current indirect taxes. There will be no need for him to charge you a GST. And of course, that's also the reason why many of the car dealers are going into these GST, pre-GST price, bandwagon. Admittedly, we have to wait and watch what will happen in the price of automobiles after GST comes into effect. Once they start manufacturing and releasing the 1st July and later vehicles from the plants. But to answer her question, there will be the current applicable indirect taxes on the invoices in the car, even if the delivery is happening on 5th of July.
Even if so if you are buying it today, you've made your advance payment or the full payment. Even if it's part payment, then you have to pay GST for the remaining money if you pay it after the 1st of July.
No, it will be the same amount.
It's the same amount? There is no GST even if a part payment is after the 1st of July?
No.
Okay.
Its delivery is already happened.
Delivery is not happening.
Delivery is happening rather on the 5th of July. But I've already gone ahead and purchased the car. Okay, the terms of delivery may be later. Okay, the invoicing has already happened now. Payment may be later. Okay, but the trigger point is at what point in time was transfer of property in the car taking effect. If transfer of property in the car happened on or before 30th of June, then you do not have to charge a GST. If it's a transfer of property that's happening on the 1st of July, okay, then yes, you will have to charge GST.
So on the 1st of July, if your billing is made, then you have to pay GST. If any time before that, you don't need to. So for example, there was one interesting caller yesterday who said we couldn't take him on air, but we sort of took note of his concern. The question was, I have bought my car again, but the color that I want is not available now. So I'll get it sometime in a week or 2 weeks or whenever that is. So what will happen? Will I pay GST? Again, I'm guessing the same thing applies for him as well.
So the most important question here is, has the invoicing happened on the car? Now there are various steps on that. Okay, so you have done a booking. Okay, that's the first date that we should look at. Then you've made a, your margin payment in case you're taking a loan, okay, which also happens, against which you got a receipt. Then the invoicing happens. And it's only after the invoicing happens that the banks get into the play in case it's a finance vehicle or something like that. So I'm interested to know, when did the invoicing happen?
Okay.
If the invoicing happened on or before 30th of June, it's a transfer of property which has taken place. For delivery at a future date, that doesn't make a difference. You have to still pay VAT at the dealer's end today.
Okay, fantastic. So for anyone, Vinita, including you, and of course all those people who've called us in the last few days asking about car purchases, because a lot of people have been completely dumbfounded by the amount of discounts that are available, and they're like, are they making a fool out of us? If I wait till the 1st of July, will I get my car even cheaper? And that's the question a lot of people are asking.
Question, isn't it?
Yeah. Actually, to be quite honest, I don't think we have an answer to that yet. Even the companies themselves are sort of getting their head around how this GST will affect the individual prices of individual models. So to that question, I don't think I have an answer yet. But to the question of if you buy it today, if you book your vehicle today, and even if you take delivery of it 2 weeks down the line, there is no GST on you. You will pay the existing rate. So if indeed, if the purchase decision is dependent on that, then please go ahead and book it, is all I would say. We have another caller on the phone line, Abdul from Hyderabad. He's from the e-commerce space. Abdul, what is your question?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, my question is regarding like the e-commerce, So there is no scheme, like government scheme. There is no government scheme where like e-commerce sellers, are getting any benefits. See, first of all, see the e-commerce, all the e-commerce sellers, they have all the white money.
That's quite presumptuous, Abdul.
Because everything is coming like through the bank. And see the government 20 lakh limit is for the regular retailers, not for those who sell inter-estate.
Okay. So you're asking if there is any leeway in the fine print that an e-commerce seller like you...
exactly. Like I want see, why government is not giving any benefit to the e-commerce sellers?
Let me start by saying that the government has given you a 3-month window. And of course, the experts will take it forward from there. Mr. Jaisingh, do you want to add to that?
Yep, that's right. So I think that's absolutely correct that what the government has done is that there's a mandatory registration for sellers who get enlisted on an e-commerce operator. Now, that mandatory registration has been put on hold. Is it 2 months or 3 months? We'll wait for the fine print because the fine print just says that it's deferred. The Revenue Secretary did mention from September 1 it'll change, but at least for the first 2 months, the mandatory registration is deferred. One. There's also a TCS requirement which the e-commerce operator would have ordinarily deducted a 1% tax on the sales on the platform, but that has also been deferred along with the deferment of the registration. So that's part A to my of the answer to the question.
But the question is, Mr. Jaisingh, I think
what if you have an interstate sale, any which way the law today requires you to.
So, Mr. Jaisingh, so the question I think Abdul is asking is that there seems to be no added thrust to encourage people to enter e-commerce. There is no specific incentive to sort of, address the queries of the e-commerce players. I mean, why not push them towards that? If you want a digital India, why not push people towards e-commerce? I think that's the question Abdul is asking.
I agree with Abdul, and I do share the same sentiment that I wish that even the TCS provision, which is currently deferred only by 2 months, should actually be completely called off because, like Abdul rightly mentioned, that the sales that happen on the platform are even more well reported. There are different checks and balances. So I do concur that there's no real provision in the GST law that necessarily encourages sellers to make sales on the platform. In fact, there are some provisions that are not necessarily very favorable. Fortunately, they're deferred now by 2 months, but I would like to watch the space and hope and believe that they might get deferred for an even longer period of time.
Okay. Abdul, does that answer your question? I don't think it answers your question, but well, this is what it is. What do we do? Abdul, are you still on the phone line?
Yeah, to some extent, yeah, what you have answered is okay. And what I want to highlight is one more point, that for e-commerce sellers, like
Abdul, your voice is cutting out.
like there should be some this compliance requirement should be like least. Like we don't have to.
So that's what you have. That's what you have, Abdul.
All those things like that should be that.
If you are listed on any of the e-commerce websites like Flipkart, Amazon, Myntra, wherever it is that you are selling your products, you have 3 months or 2 months to get yourself registered. And of course, at the end of September, when they file the returns, and when you file your returns, that GST number should be reflecting, as well as you also have to make sure, remember that the 1% tax that was supposed to be deducted at source, that has also been deferred by 2 months. So you have some kind of a leeway. Yes, of course. The broader point of whether the government should be encouraging vendors like yourself to sort of enter e-commerce platforms is something that cannot be answered on this forum right now. Abdul, thank you very much for calling BTVi. Okay, so we have another caller on the phone line. This is a housewife from Sanpada in Mumbai. Bhuvaneshwari Rajesh is on the phone line with us. Ma'am, what's your question?
As a housewife, what are the points I have to take care in GST?
Okay, there are so many things, ma'am. I think this will take an entire day's discussion to answer that question. But broadly, what should a housewife be keeping in mind? I mean, how does her life change?
Well, it's very simple. I'll take the example of food to probably illustrate the matter for Bhuvaneshwari as well. If you buy raw food and you cook the food yourself and feed yourself and your family, there's very minimal GST in that entire purchase that you're doing. But if you actually go and buy semi-processed food, like ready-to-eat parathas and food products and things like that, and just heat it and give it to your family, there's a higher GST cost that will be suffering. If you go and order from a restaurant, then it goes even higher. So just take that, okay, and think about your consumption habits. If I buy raw food, I cook it myself, okay, minimal GST. If I buy ready-to-eat products, slightly higher GST. If I don't want to get into the botheration of making my own food.
That's something that's true even today, right? I mean, it doesn't change anything.
Yeah, it doesn't change. But, given the way in which the rates have gone, okay, some of those items may just have a higher rate coming on to you. Some of the items may have a lower rate coming on to you. And that's a mix of, it's a consumption basket. Right?
And I think I'll take this conversation back to where we started today, because we're getting timed out on this show.
Sure.
The question of happy face. I think as a housewife, you should remember, you should consider what product you are having for breakfast, because the tax may be different from one product to another. So if you are having a real fruit juice, I don't know whether it's which tax bracket it falls
in. A Tropicana might have a lower rate, and Happy Fizz might have a higher rate.
Because the government is concerned about your health. Whether you are or not, the government is concerned about your health, and it wants you to consume less sugar, less salt, and of course less junk food. And that's why the GST rates have been structured the way they have. Whether or not they should be bothered is another question. It's a question for another debate. But right now, that's what we have, I think. And I want to give some closing comments to our other guests who've been here. Mr. Mani, what about you? I mean, as a housewife, what is the what's one advice that you would have for her?
I would just say that since indirect taxes are embedded in the price of products, there isn't too much point in trying to worrying of how GST is going to impact, because most households can't change their consumption basket, and consumption baskets get fashioned over a period of time. So don't try to be predictive of GST. You don't need to try to hoard products. You don't need to go and do all your shopping, now. Just wait and watch. The increase on prices, if at all, is going to be very, very marginal. Retail price inflation in India has been at the lowest level for the last 6 months or so. And over a period of next 6 months, the prices of many products may in fact come down. So I would say that at a broad level,
that was not the fear, right? I mean, in the last couple of years when we were running towards GST, the fear was that GST will end up fueling inflation, which is not something that's not been negated yet. It's something that
we'll have to wait and watch.
We'll have to wait and watch.
We'll have to wait and watch. But if you look at the manner in which the GST rates have been decided for various products, the majority of products which are used in the household consumption basket typically are at the present rate or at a lower rate.
Okay.
So toothpaste and shampoo are at lower rates. Soaps are
Biscuits
at lower
are
rate. Biscuits have marginally, gone up. Right?
Bhuvneshwari Rajesh, if you consume a lot of biscuits, please look it up because the taxes have changed. They are now in 2 different baskets. Yeah. I think one is 5, one is 12. And do we have an 18 in biscuits as well?
No, we don't have an 18 in biscuits, although logically we should have an 18 or, even a 28 in biscuits.
Which is the biscuit do you think? Mr. Jaisingh, which is the biscuit that should be taxed at 28%?
I don't think
I would say the biscuits that are supplied on, most of the airlines, where you pay 200 rupees for 2 cookies.
Fantastic. I think that was a very exhilarating, very entertaining and very informative discussion that we've had today. With that, we are completely timed out on this episode at least, but this is far from over. We've been doing this for the last few days and we will continue to do so. We will put the spotlight on all the issues that bother you as a last mile consumer, as a last mile manufacturer, the SMEs, the small vendors, the neighborhood mom and pop shops. Each one of you, whatever your queries, we are here to answer that. We have a panel every day on BTVi trying to address that queries because this GST is real. It's going to happen and there is no way that you can stop it, whether or not you can like it. So like I said before, whether you're angry, nervous or just, sort of curious, pick up the phone, dial the number 022-4098-7444. That's the number where we take your queries and of course we get the best in the business to answer them for you. And all of this in the run up to the big day on the 1st of July, the midnight of 1st of July. We will be live, we will be non-stop covering the beginning of GST, the dawn of GST in India from the evening of June 30th. From then onwards till midnight when both Finance Minister and the Prime Minister, we will be awake with them to usher in the new tax regime. And of course, I hope you will also be awake watching BTVi, the big historic moment unfold in front of you. For now, thanks for watching BTVi. This is Sriram Iyer signing off.